Hello and welcome. This is Dr. Suzanne. Today I would like to talk about two types of women, the asset woman and the liability woman. I'm going to be very concise and compare them with the same types of characteristics. Let's start with the asset woman. An asset woman is a person who is useful, she is valuable, and she represents an economic value, meaning that when she's with you, she will cause increase instead of losses. The very first thing you need to do is to make sure that you are equally yoked with any woman you want to be with, meaning that you have to serve the same spirit. You have to carry the same altars. I usually tell you that us humans, we are spirit beings, souls, and a body, meaning that we submit to a higher spirit. Is it going to be the Spirit of God, or is it going to be a contrary spirit? You have to look at that first, because if that basis is not there, anything else is you wasting your time. If you want to know a little bit more, look at my video titled Nephilims and Chosen Ones to figure out what's the difference between someone who is under the Spirit of God and someone who is not under the Spirit of God. All right, so that's the very first thing. Then you go deeper and you look at the presence of wisdom. Wisdom is the application of knowledge with understanding. How do you think? How do you face problems? What kind of thought patterns do you use? Okay, that's the wisdom. Number two, spiritual discernment. Not only the discernment of spirits, but the discernment of patterns and the discernment of people. You know, people could be in front of you showing you their teeth, but they are plotting your death in your back. Your spirit has to be able to discern who is who around you. A woman who is able to do that and know who is who around her husband is an asset. 3, she has a prayer life, but not just a prayer, like a connection with the God she is claiming to serve. Then obedience, because if you submit to the Holy Spirit and then the Holy Spirit comes and tells you, okay, Suzanne, I want you to give this amount to so and so. What are you gonna do? You have to be obedient. You have to be obedient. And sometimes it's a message. You know, the Holy Spirit can say, I want you to tell this, or I want you to go pray for someone. And then you just show up and you either say the thing or you pray for the person. But it's not always comfortable, because you're like, oh my God, what if I didn't understand? What if I didn't hear properly? What if, you know? But despite your doubt, you have to have faith. You have to be obedient, okay? You have to pay attention to things like that, because sometimes in life, it only takes a fraction of a second to make the right decision between life and death. The fruits of the Spirit. We're still in the spiritual realm. That person who is an asset should display a few of the fruits of the Spirit. The first one is kindness. Kindness towards others. The children, the animals, maybe the nature, the trees, the gardens, whatever. Just be kind, considerate towards others. Goodness, someone who wants to do good and not necessarily want to hurt others. Patience, patience is a virtue. I'm telling you, sometimes you just have to be calm when people are coming after you, because you need to know that arguments is the foundation and the ground for curses. Because when people engage you in an argument, they give themselves the right to release curses on your life. So you have to avoid argument as much as possible. Therefore, you have to learn to be patient. You have to be calm. You have to be a peaceful person, meaning that even when something is showing up, you have to be calm, assess the situation, and ask yourself, what is the next best step to take? Okay, I'm not saying that you shouldn't be dramatic sometimes, but the calm, the quietness that you carry is a function of peace with your God. Remember that Jesus is the Prince of Peace, okay? And he tells us not to worry. So you always have to pay attention to the way people approach problems. Another thing is resourcefulness. Resourcefulness is going to encompass different things. It's going to encompass the education, because the educations will determine the intellectual understanding of the person, or the knowledge that the person has, okay? But not just that, you also want to look at self-learning. Is it a person who likes to learn, who likes to challenge herself, who feels comfortable learning new skills? You have to pay attention to that. You have to pay attention to the thought pattern. Is this someone who likes to come up with solutions, or who dwells on problems? Is he a team player, or is he someone who is going to block everyone until their own will comes to pass? Okay? Is it a creative person? Like, if you are given a small amount of, let's say money, and you are told, go do whatever, how are you going to think? How are you going to spend this money? I remember, for example, my mother, just in parentheses, she got married very early. She was a young teenager when she got married. Oh, that was a long time ago, okay? I remember my father used to give her money for the household expenses. And what she would do was to go to the market. I mean, I know because she would take me with her. I was there, okay? And then after we bought all the stuff, I was the one leading the cleaning crew. So she would buy, let's say, a whole goat. She would buy a lot of chicken. She would buy the case of tomatoes. She would buy, in where I come from, bitter leaves. We call that ndole. She would buy like bags of it. She would just buy things in bulk, then bring it home, and we would work on that. Jesus, bags of granules, you break. I mean, it was something else. But the way she was doing that, she would buy all these things in bulk, bring it back home, clean, prepare, package, and freeze it. By doing that, she made sure that she had a fixed amount of expenses to control the whole month and more. Then she was able to save money. And what did she do with the money she was saving? She started participating in, in Cameroon, we call that tontine. Is little groups of women who come together and they save money. Then, let's say you are 10. Every 10, you pick one person to receive the money, and then at your turn, you receive the money. So she started with little. Then she would save that money, invest more. Save the money, invest more. Once she had enough, what did she do? She started buying lands. She started small businesses, Like, I don't know what my mom didn't do. She would sell charcoal. She would sell wood. She would sell, she started small, until she became a mogul in real estate, until she had warehouses of stuff, until she, but she started small. And then what she did, she involved herself in multiple tontines. And she was the president and the CEO of the tontines, meaning that she had created a system for her own bank. And people would come borrow money from her, and she would have them sign engagement. Some of those engagements were houses, were buildings, and if you could not pay her the money on time, she would just quietly take your house. I don't know how many houses she got like that. You understand? So that is resourcefulness. You have some and you stretch it, and then you begin to invest to make it bigger. She was an asset because she increased the financial capacity of her family. Now, the next point is a good manager of what you have, how you treat the things you have. Sometimes you buy very expensive things. Sometimes it's not even expensive, but how do you keep it? How do you take care of it? How do you maintain it? Sometimes when you don't put an effort to get something, you waste it. An asset woman is not a wasteful woman, so she can share with others. The other point is financial understanding. You have to have basic understanding of how finances work, how you even use your money, what you spend on, what percentage you save, what are your priorities. The way she thinks generational wealth. She thinks legacy, building something that's going to last. The next point is social intelligence. She is a private person. She knows what to share, what not to share. She knows how to behave in public. She pays attention to her friends. She pays attention to her activities. And she also pays attention to the way she presents herself. She takes good care of herself, and she respects herself and her family. So then the last point is how she behaves in romantic setting. She's going to be loyal. She's going to be honest, right? She's going to be transparent, and she positions herself as a helper, okay? Because she wants to figure out what to do to make this work. Her presence is going to bring solutions to build and go higher, okay? I hope you understand what I'm trying to say. Now, if you look at the person who is a liability, but liability means that you are someone who puts others at a disadvantage. You are someone who causes embarrassment and scandals. That's what a liability is. You cause people to lose. They either lose money or lose something, but in any way, you are a drainer. You drain resources. If we look at the spiritual components of these people, they don't develop them. They are more focused on the body, on the physical appearance, and rarely on the spiritual gifts or the fruits of the spirit even. And you will see those people are usually not very humble. Sometimes they have a lot of pride. Sometimes they want to be very competitive. They see another woman, and all of a sudden they start arguments with her, comparison, jealousy. I mean, we don't know where they're going with that. Resourcefulness, they don't have a lot of ideas that are building. They don't really pay attention to education or self-learning. They are not well versed in different things. They have this small little myopic vision and view, and that's what they stick on. Sometimes they are very wasteful because they don't understand how to get important things and how to keep them. Financially, they tend to be dependent. They depend on who is going to give them the most money. Socially, they are very loud, not very private. That's what I'm trying to say. And sometimes they don't have the social intelligence to know what to say and what not to say, what to share and what not to share. The romantic life can be scattered because they're looking for the person who is going to give them the most, of course. Okay? Therefore, they are not going to be very loyal. They are not going to be very transparent. They are not going to be dedicated to just one man. And most of the time, they don't even understand the intricacy of building a relationship, of building generational wealth, or building a legacy. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.